Let's talk about the Auburn Tigers. They've been on a roller coaster ride, more ups than downs for the Tigers, but they are sitting at number 6 right now. But they landed a huge commitment. We're going to break it all down in this video. Tiger fans, make sure you guys hit subscribe to the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube. And there were some recruits out on the plains. Let's take a look. Bring that up. Okay, Usman Chroma, Elijah Melendez. Shout out to Trey, the producer, because Elijah Melendez didn't have that Auburn logo next to his name about an hour and a half ago. He just committed in the pregame. We're going to bring in Hayes Fawcett here in a second to talk more about it. Tyler Atkinson, a 2026 prime target, the number 1 linebacker in America. He is on campus as well. Let's bring in Hayes Fawcett. We got some big news here on Elijah Melendez, who decommitted from Miami week 1. He did it I was going to say 1 week ago. It was 2 weeks ago. He did it while the Miami Hurricanes were literally warming up on the field in Gainesville. He dropped his edit and said he's decommitted. Hayes, you've been in contact with Melendez. How long has he been thinking about dropping this commit edit to Auburn?
Man, so I believe really it was almost a done deal whenever he announced his decommitment from Miami week 1. He was actually in attendance for the Auburn week 1 game when he ultimately announced that. Spoke with him earlier before we got on the show, and he said that Auburn's a family program and Hugh Freeze leads with faith, and he wants to be a part of that. So that was definitely another big pickup for Auburn in their, I believe, top 6 2025 class.
Yeah, huge pickup for Auburn. And speaking about being out on the plane, Steve, you took an official visit to Auburn. If you guys watched the Wilt Fong whip around on Thursday, me and Steve actually recorded that while Steve was on campus waiting to interview Hugh Freeze. So I got to do a show with Steve while he was in the waiting room of Hugh Freeze's office. What'd you learn while you were down on the plains?
Well, I think that they're excited about the trajectory of their program. First and foremost, their facility is one of the most pristine in college football. When they built their weight room, it was the biggest in college football. But
I thought you were at a 5-star hotel like in Abu Dhabi or something.
Yeah, it was a tremendous place. Their weight room was the number 1 weight room in the country, but all that stuff short-lived in college football. It didn't take Nebraska long to build a bigger one. But Auburn. Look, Hugh Freeze, he talked about 3 years to recruit top 8 classes to compete for championships. He said that is what the last 10 or so champions have had in common is elite recruiting. And they poured a lot into it, starting with the, Flip of Falk and Connor Liu and some of those guys in the 2023 cycle, and then signing a top 10 class in 2024, tracking for one in 2025 and 2026. Now they got to get their quarterback situation right. That was one of the first things he talked about. And he's talked about, hey, maybe he should have went into the portal, but he wanted to pour resources into the entire roster and not just into one position. He likes his young quarterbacks. Hank Brown's starting today. He mentioned specifically that he liked Hank Brown and Walker White. Obviously, they're trying to flip Deuce Knight from Notre Dame. And Deuce has visited Auburn 3 times since the end of the summer, Big Cat weekend, their first 2 home games. He's expected to take an official visit to Auburn when they play Oklahoma at the end of the month. Notre Dame trying to get him back for the Louisville game. Deuce is actually at the Southern Miss game right now. Talked to his dad. So Deuce Knight's at Southern Miss, enjoying that ball game tonight down there in Hattiesburg. But they got a chance to finish with the number 1 class in the country. Hugh Freeze is very involved in recruiting. They had a full staff meeting where they talk about prospects collectively. So offense kind of knows what defense is up to. Likewise, they all have an idea of why guys are on the board and where they're at the board collectively. Will Redmond runs that meeting, their general manager. But that it puts them in unison together when they're sitting there together, just going over prospects. And then Hugh Freeze, he's talking to these recruits and their top targets and building meaningful relationships with them. Auburn's got the infrastructure to be competitive on the trail in the NIL regard, but Hugh Freeze says the difference between their program, in his opinion, is the culture and environment that they're creating. And he also said, look, Auburn's played for 2 national titles over the last 13 years. There's not many places that have done that. There's just 6 in that time span that have played for the national championship more than once. So there's a lot of exciting things about Auburn right now. They got a great class. They're playing exciting football for the most part on Saturdays, and hanging out there was fun. And we're going to be taking those official visits around the country. Got a couple more visits that I'm lining up right now. So look forward to this new series at On 3.
Yeah, I can't wait for more of that. Let's bring in Hayes Fawcett. I want to talk running back Alvin Henderson. Alvin Henderson was committed to Penn State. Auburn flipped him. Season started. And Alvin Henderson is losing his mind on the football field right now. Hayes, you have an incredible stat line to report from Alvin Henderson, Auburn running back commitment that he did on last night, Friday night.
Yeah, Josh, Alvin Henderson has been putting up video game numbers. Last 2 weeks, he's combined for 789 yards and 17 touchdowns on 56 carries. Last night,
he's got 700 yards on the ground, over 700 yards on the ground in 2 weeks.
Yes, and 17 touchdowns. The Friday before this one, he scored 7 touchdowns on 354 yards and 16 carries. And like I said, 10 touchdowns the Friday before. So, man, that's definitely a crazy stat line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Steve, what do you think of some of these offensive weapons Hugh Freeze has brought in between this class and last class? I mean, it's almost comical what Auburn has waiting in the wings.
No, Hugh Freeze is trying to build an offense that's one of the most potent in college football, one that he had at Ole Miss, where he was able to beat the likes of Alabama and Georgia. And he said it takes time to put those rosters together, but we see it starting to form again. He's got to get the quarterback right, and he's working to do that. I think Auburn's going to go to the portal no matter what after this season, even if they land Deuce Knight, to get a veteran in there, a one-year guy to help mentor the young quarterback room. Well, we'll see. Hank Brown starting today. Maybe they don't have to go into the portal, but I think if the plans are always changing and evolving, I think right now the plan would be for Auburn to go into the portal after the season for a one-year guy, and then hopefully hand the keys over to Deuce Knight or a player of that magnitude. But speaking of Alvin Henderson, he's one of the best peer recruiters in the country, isn't he? He's in touch with guys. He's around when Deuce Knight's on campus. He's in his hip pocket. And then Chroma, who's visiting today, and Alvin's on campus again today, he's recruiting Chroma. There's no, hey, I want to be the only back in this class. You've seen Georgia and Alabama and those programs use multiple backs, Ohio State. He wants Chroma to come join him at Auburn. And look, this recruitment's getting tight. It was big for Auburn to get Chroma back to campus, because working this story with Chad Simmons, that visit to Georgia last weekend, big needle mover. And we've always talked about Georgia. If they turn up the gas, hit the gas on Chroma, they'll be real formidable in that recruitment. But Auburn's been on the gas his entire process. Florida State's a school that was always at or near the top of his list. Don't hear as much about them anymore. Tennessee, they want to back. They're trying to take a swing there. But Auburn getting them back to campus this weekend after Georgia. Cole Pinkston puts in an Auburn on 3 RPM. I actually started to get nervous about my Auburn on 3 RPM coming out of that Georgia visit.
Really?
It'll be, well, of course. We talked about that on Whip Around. Hit like and subscribe to the On 3 Recruits channel so you know when the Inside Scoop, Whip Around, 5-Star Flex, and Recruit Reaction are all going live. But, yeah, Georgia, anybody from in-state that they're turning it up for, especially with their track record at running back and just winning. But Auburn, they're doing a great job here. They get them back to campus. So it'll be interesting to hear what the vibes are like coming out of another visit to the Plains.
All right, Auburn fans, talk to us. Comment section below. Is Hugh Freeze going to get this thing straightened out? How do we feel about this recruiting class? And who is your favorite target still out there on the board? Talk to us. Let us know. Comment section below.